Bogdan from Ukraine says, Mr. Dutch, recently we've
From
seen
where?
Ukraine.
Ukraine.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Recently, we've seen Chavo Guerrero Jr. returning to TNA, which had me thinking, why didn't he become a huge star like his uncle, for example? Of course, he had some success in different companies, but it always felt that he never achieved anything really big. And I have to agree with that. I thought Chavo just seemed to just peter out after a while. I don't know why.
Well, he just, the name, especially the last name, but he never achieved anywhere close to the notoriety of the other Guerreros. Who was the youngest one?
Eddie.
Who? Eddie was the youngest.
Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, that's
they
apples and oranges, though, because, I mean, apart from the fact that Eddie was one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, he was also one of the most charismatic.
Yes, and that's what got it. Because he was...
What, he was like 5'6", 5'7", maybe, and it didn't matter.
He's taller than that, but not much. But his character was the overriding factor of all that. Yeah. Because he connected with that crowd. He would stand over there, and he had a comical face when he grinned too, so you had to like him. And the crowds end up they loved him. So, and Chavo or none of the rest of them even came close to that. The name, especially with the father, it's a legacy name in Mexico, and he took it to WWE, and he was over like a son of a gun. He was over like Flynn, as they say.
There was that time that Eddie died, and at the time Chavo was portraying a character called Kerwin White. Do you remember this?
No.
He dyed his hair.
He went as a Caucasian guy.
Yeah, with a sweater around his neck, playing golf.
It's not entertaining, though.
That was hilarious, but it was hilarious for someone who was on the absolute bottom of the card, and he was never going to go anywhere else. And then, like, when Eddie died, they immediately erased that character, and then they had Chavo. They did a tiny bit with him, sort of as tribute to Eddie, but then it seemed that all of that goodwill that Eddie Guerrero had then built up all went on to Rey Mysterio instead, who obviously is the bigger star and the greater talent, I suppose. So, and then after that, Chavo was just there, just floating around again.
So you're saying that Rey Mysterio inherited some of his overness from the lack of an Eddie Guerrero on the card or on the TV.
Specifically because Eddie died, because after Eddie died, then in storyline, Rey ends up going in a storyline with Randy Orton, and it's all constantly mentioning Eddie, that eventually would culminate in that WrestleMania with Rey winning the title, the world title, one of the world titles anyway at the time. I mean, it would follow to be maybe the worst world title run in history, but the fact is that he may never have been a world title, holder weirdly, if Eddie Guerrero passed. But anyway, with Chavo, I mean, when you're in the shadow of Eddie, how come he never really did anything in TNA? Because I know he did something for Rinka King, and you were working with him there, I think.
He was just there, really, basically.